Hello and welcome to this first review on my channel. Yes, it's me, along with the lockdown haircut. Why don't you usually see me in my videos? Well, because I'm explaining games and I don't really see the point in distracting from anything than purely the game explanation itself. But for a review, why not? The first one is for this game, Remember Our Trip. Because it's a fairly new game. I do believe it started a while ago on Kickstarter, but it's officially completely out now. So let's see how it goes. I enjoyed it. You will never see a bad review on my channel. If I really don't like a game, I won't do a review on it. So I wouldn't like to be overly negative about something someone did put a lot of work in. If it's not good, then I won't do a review on it. You have a review on this one, so I like it. Let's start with the box. I do like the artwork. Like I already said in the unboxing, it looks nice and retro, but that's maybe also one thing that thinking about it later, it doesn't fully make sense of the theming because you go and visit either Singapore or Kyoto, and there are some modern landmarks in it, so the box may look, at least to me personally, it looks older, like 1920s, 40s, 50s, 60s, but there are some landmarks that are pretty new that you can add to the game. Let's see if I can find one. Yes, here it is. This, can't see if you see it, that famous skyscraper with the boat on it. It has lasers coming out of it, I do believe. So it's fairly new. It doesn't really match up with the artwork, but it doesn't matter. The box still looks nice. If I would see this box in the game store, I would pick it up and read the back to see if the description is interesting, as the box is. In this case it is. The description is very interesting. But to me it was also a bit misleading. But I don't blame them, because it's very hard to make a description of what the idea is of this game without saying that. The description says you're going on a trip, and when you come back you try to recall everywhere you have been, everything you've visited, everything you've seen. And the player who remembers it best, who has the correct recollection of the city, that's either Kyoto or Singapore again. You can choose at the start of the game which city you want to do. You'll be creating the city on your own player board, but that made me think there might be sort of a memory element in the game and a two-part element in the game. I don't know if there are any games, but I would be very interested in playing one of those, because I like the idea that you have a first half of the game and then a second half, like a film. The first part of the film, and then there's a twist in the middle, and then you have the next part. And that doesn't really happen here. I was expecting the first half of the game to be you sort of create the city and get points for it in some way, and then you cover it up, and the next part of the game is trying to remember who put what where. But no, that is not how the game goes. But that's fine, because the game itself is still very nice. How does it go? Well, I have the tutorial for that. Basically, you get pieces are put out at the start of the game. You have to pick some of those pieces and put them on the board in a certain pattern. The game also tells you how to do that. And if you have made a certain shape on your board, then you look at the main board, the city, Kyoto or Singapore. If that space is empty, you can put one of these smaller, these bigger pieces on them, like a hotel or a landmark or a park, and then you can put that on the main board as well. So now it has become there in the city, giving you extra points. So basically you're not remembering the city so much as you're creating it for points. But that's fine, because it's a fun game to play. It's just a little different from the description. I would have liked a slightly bigger box, but I guess it all fits. Everything fits inside the box. I'm looking at the contents here. Yep, there you go. Yeah, so it's filled up to full capacity. Well, I guess that's fine then. I retract my complaint about that. The box is fine because everything just fits. If you start adding more plastic bags, then it could be lifting up a bit, but that's up to you. The box did come with this pouch that I like because you're just gonna need them. I have games that say, oh, create a pool of this, and you have to take some blind tokens out of it, but they don't provide anything to do that with. So you just have to put them in the lid of the box and shake it up a bit and take it out. Not this one. This has a nice pouch with it. So happy with this one. As I've said in the unboxing, I like cardboard stuff. I don't have a problem with card games, but I just like cardboard. I like board games. I like to have a board. So this game does offer boards. And I don't know if that is the thing with this particular game. I don't think so because I've seen it before. But I've just got it, but some of the boards have already started warping slightly. They've gone bend a bit. But I don't know if a game company can do anything about it. I usually keep my games upright. I don't keep them flat. But again, because this one's fairly new and I've took it out of the box and back in the box a couple of times to make the videos and play the game actually once. Yeah, so they've already begun to slightly warp. But again, that might not be only this game. That might be games in particular. I don't have that many games with smaller boards in them. And the ones that I do have shown the warp bit. Anyway, back to the game itself. The gameplay. The tutorial was quite difficult to make, to calculate how I could best explain it to you. But the game itself doesn't have that. It plays fluently. It has steps in which you do it, like I explained in the tutorial. And how you do it, what you get points for, is quite fluent. It's not that difficult as soon as you understand how to play the game. It's more of a hurdle to get over, like how do you play it? What does it do? And once you understand it, like, oh no, that actually makes perfect sense. And it also says on these boards are just for you. You keep them with you as a player. And yeah, it just explains itself once you understand. You make a shape out of a certain number and a certain color, and then you get the points that are there. The shapes and the points are there. And then the extra step would go to the main board, seeing, oh, is that space empty? Is it not empty? If it is, put on the thing, the extra thing. If it isn't, you still get some points if it matches per square space. So I've enjoyed it. I've played it with 3 players. Well, I was one of the 3 players, and yeah, we had a good time. I didn't win, but I don't have to. I don't always need to win. I'm happy to just play the games, especially if they're fun. This one was fun. Also, it's not too long. It says 12 rounds, but one round isn't actually that long. So I don't know what the box actually says on how. 30 minutes? Yeah, well, between 30 and 45 minutes, I would say. And don't forget to include the setup as well. Although that's quite quickly done. I think the only thing that requires some extra time is putting up these, what I always call Tetris pieces. You have a board for them, which with the outlines, and you have to place them all. And the square ones have quite a lot of them, so you have to stack them up. And if you're a neat freak, OCD person like me, it has to be nice and perfect. But no, it's an easy setup, and it's not a very long game to play. It reminded me a little bit of Tiny Towns, because there you also have your board and you have to make a certain shape to get the points. But I wouldn't say it's similar. It actually is not similar to a game like Tiny Towns. Yeah, it's its own thing. The idea that you create a shape on your board and then compare it to another, like a main board that everyone else looks to. That's quite a fun element, I thought. So I enjoyed it. What else do we have? The game offers several levels of difficulty. You can use these strips. Let me use the right color one here. We have a red board and a red strip, if I can get it out eventually. There we go. You can make the game harder by including this strip, by putting it over one side of the board, giving you less space to work with. And the other element that they added was every game has these goal cards that you put out. There's this particular thing mentioned on the card. If you have this at the end of the game, you get a little bit of extra points. The game also included advanced game cards, ones that are more difficult. I haven't tried it yet because I want to play the base game many more times before I move on to an extra challenge. But it's good that they added something extra in it to keep the game interesting for many years to come. So what else is there to say about it? The manual, yes. I'm happy with it because the way I explain, I don't know if you've watched any of my tutorials, but what I always start with, you are going to play for this long, and this is what makes you win the game. That's what I start with. How long is the game, and what are you doing it for? What are you supposed to do? This game starts with that. Basically, it has the contents and the setup, and then before explaining how to play the game in steps, it says, it first starts with the game consists of 12 rounds. And then, well, it doesn't say that whoever has the most, it says the game ends and the final score calculation starts. So, that's almost the way I explained it as well. It's this long, and that's when you get your points. That's what you're doing it for. And then the game, step by step, explains. Here we have step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, and it has nice pictures of examples how everything goes. So yeah, it's a good, of course you always have to be in the mood to read these. I usually really like to know how a game works, but if you have no idea and you pick up the rule book, sometimes you're like, oh, I can't wait, and sometimes you're like, you're reading terms and descriptions and you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about right now. I will understand it at some point. But that's just the mood that you're in. So yeah, it's written well. It's been proofread by Hal99. I see now for the first time. Proofreader Hal99. Open the pod bay doors, Hal, and let me in to play this game, because yeah, it was fun. It was challenging, and once you understand how to play it, it's easy to play it. So that's my review. I don't know what your opinion will be on the game. Of course, it's yeah. What is this? It's a bit difficult. I think it's more, you call it more of a Euro game than a merry game. Let me not use the other term. Yeah. It's more of a Euro game. It's always a game, I call them games with Tetris pieces. Although this is not quite fair, because you don't put the Tetris pieces on the board. You put these round tokens on the board to make a shape, like Tiny Towns. Tiny Towns uses cubes. Here you use a round disc on your board, and with these discs you have to make a certain shape, a Tetris type shape. Not necessarily, especially these red and orange tokens, you can make any shape that you like, as long as there's a minimum number of it. So that's it. I would recommend, what does it say for ages 10 and up? Yeah, depending on how familiar your child is with gaming, 10 could be possible, and definitely challenging enough for experienced players and adults. Um, so yeah, if you're into these types of games, I would definitely give it a try. Um, yeah, since it's not a big game either, it's not overpriced at all. So if anyone has it, give it a try. If no one has it, maybe get your own one. And thank you for watching, and the next one will be a tutorial again.